Okay, we got Jess here again today.
Yeah, I'm back. Josh isn't back because his wife is still in labor. This is what I was told this morning before I came out here.
All right.
Yeah, and I understand she reposted your video yesterday, and I'd like to think that I hope she was comfortable when she did that.
Yeah.
It's a different world when you can post things to friends from a hospital bed online.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, what's happening with the big fire today?
Well, there hasn't been a lot of progress on the fire itself on the west side. Or I'm sorry, I apologize, the east side. Let's make that very clear, the east side. The west side is continuing to move. The little anecdotes, the little information that I can tell you is we're probably going to see the helicopters flying around a little bit today if they're coming back and forth across the fire. They're using heavies to put water on the fire. They have some light-duty helicopters. I understand that they're going to try and meet it, at least for a portion, on the Galice Creek fire. And if we want to go through this again, to reference this map, if people are just joining in for you, Onion Mountain Lookout, Morrison's Lodge, which happens to continue to be in a level 3 area, and the Galice Resort would be down in this area. So, and then Hellgate Bridge, where the magic picture came from, is going to be about this purple triangle right over here. So the progression that we've had on the west side is all over here. I want to make a particular note. If your camera is sharp enough, there is a black line here that is usually interpreted as a control line. This is a mistake. This was put on here by a Sharpie when somebody started to describe what they thought was control line or burnout line. I believe it to be a burnout line. This has not come from the folks that have described things to me, but the only reason I can say that is because it is typically a smooth line, and we knew they were putting trail in to do that intentionally last night. Okay. So the red that we're seeing on the west side of the fire doesn't cause me a concern that it might other people that aren't in our business. They held it at the river, and we haven't lost any homes still. We still haven't.
Excellent.
The control lines in the southwest corner of the fire and the southeast corner of the fire are holding. Emergency evacuations have not changed today. They continue to be the same. My belief is one of the reasons that we're seeing level 3 and Pickett Creek, West Pickett Creek and Paradise Gardens, all those areas up there, is not only because they were doing the burn, but also because it occurred to us yesterday, though nobody has spoken to me about it, is there's only one way in and out of there. So not only is it a safety issue for those people,
yes.
but it's also an issue of getting our rigs in there as quick as we can.
Understood.
I noticed on the stats that 48 hours ago there was 1,100 and a few more fire personnel on this fire for the Wildland Division, and there were 68 engines. Today I noticed that there were just over 1,000 firefighters and there were 60 engines. That's not necessarily bad news. It's really not telling you if it's good or bad. But some of the causes from that could be that they need them more elsewhere or they need them here less. But it could also mean this. It could mean that some of the crews have come up to their mandatory 14 days and they're looking for crews. But after 14 days, the rules used to be when I worked, contract work, was they had to then give you 48 hours off, and this was a safety issue after several firefighters were killed on other firefighters. It was just they blamed it on fatigue. After that, I believe under the rules that I was under, they could come back in 7 days. So that could be part of it as well. What is interesting to note is that during that time with those 60 engines, that had nothing to do with structural. At its peak, there were 148 structural engines on this fire. I can't tell you how many are here today. Somebody that is not with the team had mentioned to me that they thought they were going home. I have heard no such thing. So we'll just have to watch the news for that.
I did see a news story here yesterday that they were bringing in firefighters from Australia, and we are getting a lot of firefighters brought here from other states, Washington and Idaho and such.
Yes. You know what? Interestingly enough, that wouldn't be the first time. We had Australian, New Zealand, and Canadian crews on the Biscuit Fire in 2002. Yeah, I camped right next to them. They had their flags up and everything. Yeah. So it is a world event on these. And I'm not sure if we go to their countries or not, but it was interesting to see them here. Very friendly people. Happy to work.
Okay, and so on this west side of the fire, where it seems like all the movement action is, What's happening over there?
Well, so the fire advancement that I'm seeing on this map is as best that we know is fire that has progressed on its own. That doesn't mean they're not doing work over there. And actually, they're going to do a lot of work today. Folks that are in the area may hear some sounds and some noise from heavy helicopters and airplanes and so forth, and are actually also going to be burning out that area. That's primarily happening on the west side. Just to address the east side one more time, what I have heard from the organization, the information center, is that this will be the last day that they're going to be doing some of that burning and so forth. So those are all good signs. Those are all good signs. So most of the activity of them working on the fire is going to be on the west side, or I would say northwest side. A couple of other things that might be kind of interesting. Bear Camp Road is currently open. They intend to close it because there will be some burns going on over there.
Yeah, I heard them talking about that.
No home. If I didn't say it before, no homes lost. It didn't cross the river. There are still crews north of the river watching.
I'm not sure what Bear Camp Road being open does when Galice Road is closed. You can't even get to it.
It's an emergency exit.
Oh yeah. Well, I can understand that.
So you would hope, and these teams are very, very smart, that they're always going to have an emergency exit for the people in Galice. So there are areas down here that are not in level 3. It's you cannot deny that there are people in this area that, because they haven't been asked to leave, but they have to make sure they can get out. And if you're familiar with the Galice area, there's really 3 ways that you can go. You can go upriver or downriver, or you can go into the woods towards Sam Brown Campground, which takes you right through the Taylor fire and into the Klondike fire. So currently we have 2 ways. And the roads are healthy. There's not any fire burning over them or anything of any extreme measure.
Okay, that's good. And so not really any update on the Klondike fire today.
Yeah, it remains the same. I can't give you an update on that. My concern, when I'm able to glean information, is our customers and non-customers alike in this area, because those are the ones that are coming to the store. So the Klondike has made progress. It has grown in acreage. It didn't make a run, meaning the acreage didn't go up exponentially, but it is advancing. One of the tactics that we're going to use, and I'm going to show you a 2-day-old map, okay? Only to put it in perspective. But the Taylor Creek fire being here and the Klondike being here, remember that they have changed since. But Big Pine Campground, for people that grew up around here, had to go to Wildland School when they went to school here in middle school. And Sam Brown Campground, particularly Sam Brown Campground in Briggs Valley, have been used as advanced spike camps or fire camps in the past. They put crews there. They don't have all the resources that they do at the big camps. And they use those to fight the Biscuit Fire. And one of the areas they were able to hold the Biscuit Fire was the Chrome Ridge area. And they intend to try and do the same thing here.
I see.
So that's where they're going to focus some time and work on making a stand.
So I would imagine that since the Biscuit Fire, and there was not a whole lot, if any, salvage logging in that area, we're dealing with a different type of fuel than was there originally during that fire, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. 15 years is a long time. It's not in the lifespan of a tree. Sure, there's dead snags out there. There's a lot of dry timber. You could still argue that it might be a heavier fuel. In absence of the trees, the brush gets older and it grows more quickly with more sunlight. So yeah, we're absolutely, they're dealing with a different type of fuel. Again, it is in the wilderness, so if it makes those runs in those areas, it wouldn't look like it does on the east side, rather, where all of us are. So we'll see how it goes. I'm looking up on the hill from here today. It's the first time I can make out the trees.
Yes.
And there's some brown ones in there.
Yeah.
So fortunately, this area is going to be one of those areas that's more calico, and it won't look like a moonscape for the residents that are here near the store. But fire activity is different. When we looked at the Biscuit Fire and there were 500 to 1,000 acres, I was able to fly over it and take a lot of video. And it's green, gray, green, gray, green, gray, brown. And so we're probably going to see a similar pattern from the sky on this.
Yeah, I have property in Napa County that burned here last year, and it's the same situation. There's some areas that are just black,
Yeah.
and have the trees are all dead, and the other areas where it's patchy.
Yeah, it's interesting to mention. A lot of people that don't have a personal experience with wildland don't think about that. So sometimes you'll have patches in there that will come right back and the trees are okay. So
right.
It's a little different with drought and beetle kill. And the fire service, several years ago, my chief was at a fire department and they had a sign on the wall. There was a certain amount of pride and tradition. And the bumper, this was back east, this wasn't around here. And it said 200 years of tradition unimpeded by progress. And that is not what this is about. I have watched the fire service, specifically the wildland protection part of this country, change and grow and trying to adapt with their tactics. They have their own department that researches science and the way fires behave and so forth. And you see the changes. For somebody that's been here as long as I have, you see the changes. And so I don't think it's going to get better in the long term. A lot of scientists say that it's going to get worse. I am probably of the case that that's true. And I'm thankful that people are starting to realize that. And I appreciate it because it makes us safer. It's safer for us too. So, and I may mention, if you're still rolling tape, I'm here with Rural Metro Fire Department. I suspect some of your people are outside of the area. Some of them are local, and the locals understand that there is no public fire department to protect homes right where we're standing. But there's the ability for somebody to be in private enterprise to do so. And my fire department is by far and beyond the majority provider for the area. There's a lot of money coming out of the cash register right now. They've even had crews from their other departments come up from Arizona. And so I'm going to use this opportunity, if I may, to be selfish and just thank the subscribers, because without them we wouldn't be able to canvass these areas. We weren't able to prep them without funding. We wouldn't have been able to triage these homes before anybody got here. We were able to turn information over to the crews when they got here to help. So I just want to thank them. I appreciate the ability or the opportunity for people to do that for us when they weren't asked to do so through taxes. So
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Jess.
You bet.